All right, I think we're just about at 12. We might have 30 seconds to go. And today, Bill seems to be in a snowstorm. So I'm going to be running the show today. So even though you see his picture up, it's so he can record for us to get you the recording. But please don't message him because he just can't answer. If he can get on and his internet isn't jammed, I'm sure he'll join us and let us know. But in the meantime, just so you know, that's why you're just going to see his picture. So welcome, 2021 TNT. We continue to be back. And my co-host, Bill Soroka. Remember, Bill is a 2-time best-selling author with Turbocharge Your LinkedIn, as well as Become a 6-Figure Notary, and his Sign and Thrive course. And then my other co-host, who's with us today, Carol Ray, founder of Notary to Pro, who's now out there in Texas. And so Bill's not going to say anything right now, but Carol, do you have anything you're excited about?
Yeah, I have a lot of things to be excited about.
One or two.
Right now, it's a beautiful rainy day in Mathis, Texas. And we got the arrival of our new home on our new property.
Yay!
And I got new glasses yesterday. I can actually see now.
Fabulous.
So that's what I'm excited about. I do want to make an announcement before we get started. I put it in the chat.
I saw that.
We are going to have what we've been calling primetime notaries. It's on, online Zoom meetings. And I posted all the information if anybody's interested. It's really aimed at so many of my graduates who are in their late 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And they're out there working. And it's just a meeting that we have. It's about like we do here, about an hour discussing, have guests and everything, and discussing the challenges of being like 78 here and still being out there and working and being productive and earning money for the family and doing what they love. So I put all of that information in there. It should be, it's actually on Facebook. If they go to Primetime Notaries, the link is there, but it's also in the chat link and everything, what they need to do.
Thank you, Carol. Your other co-host is Laura Beaver. I am the founder of CoachMeLaura.com, as well as the owner of At Your Service Mobile Notary and creator of Notary Symposium. So I've got a couple little things going on there. And I don't have a specific thing that I'm excited about, but I am going to talk about a story, a request that happened with me. And of course, I knew exactly what to do, but not everybody would know what to do. So I'm going to be sharing that so that you have an opportunity to know if that should happen to you, what to do. But before I do that, we're going to take questions today. So you can start raising your hands if you want, because that's how I'll call on you. And the way it works is this. First of all, don't ask me questions directly because I can't run the call and answer questions. I'm going to ask Matt, who I see is on the call today, if he would field some of that in the chat for me as well. Thank you, Matt. Also, we see all, we hear all, we know all. So that means clothes are on, you're in mute unless you're called upon. Otherwise, you may be oversharing with us today. All right, so before I start taking questions, I want to tell you that I work for signing companies like the rest of you and title companies. I'm a working notary out there doing loan signings. Although it's a smaller portion of my business, I still do them. And I took a job with a signing service, which is a perfectly fine signing service. I've never had issues with them. But I took a job for one document, an affidavit death of joint tenant in December. I saw there was an acknowledgement with it. I know that that is not the right notarial act. I know the recording rules happen to be, it has to be a jurat, but who am I? I'm the notary. I'm not an attorney. I'm not the escrow officer. I'm not anything. So I called during the appointment and said, I don't believe this would be the correct one. Could you please double check and see if a jurat might be needed for this document, just as a heads up. And then they called me back a few minutes later and said, no, 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 the acknowledgement is it. Okay, very good. Then I will move forward. I told them, I've made the call. If this is not right and it's rejected and I get called back, it's a new job. Fine. So I take care of the job. Of course, yesterday I get a phone call now, 30 days later, that says, can you fill out this jurat for this particular signer for this affidavit death of joint tenant? They won't record it. And of course, I immediately remembered this whole job because it was such a big deal. And I wrote back, I am happy to assist you. Please send me another copy of the document and I'll meet with the signer and I'll perform the jurat. And then the response I got was, why do you need to meet with the signer? Just fill out the jurat. And what that tells me is they don't get it. See, they see the jurat and the acknowledgement as interchangeable, and they're not. It's a different act. There was no oath that I gave. It's different certificate wording. I said, I must meet with them again. If you ask me to just fill out the jurat for you, when I never performed a jurat in the first place, I would be falsifying the certificate, which is a misdemeanor for me in my state. And by the way, you asking me to do it is a misdemeanor for you. So if you would like, I am happy again to take care of your client. Just send me a new confirmation. Here's my fee. I can do it today. And so then they wrote back and said, oh, I understand now. So here's the deal, guys. If you're a newer notary, how did I know what I filled out? It wasn't just that I remembered, because what's a better memory than my memory? My journal. It is my BFF. You guys all know this about me. The first thing I did is I looked it up in my journal. I performed an acknowledgement. I made a note saying I called to verify that was the act that they wanted. I had all my ducks in a row, so I could respond that way and let them know I am happy to make this right for you, but it's on you. It's not on me. So please, if you get called by a signing company that says, could you just replace this acknowledgement or this jurat, check what you did the first time, number one. Because even if you're in a state that allows for corrections, corrective action, some states are specific about how to do it. And the general best practice is go back and check your journal, verify that you did perform that notarization on that document before you move forward.
Yeah, Zoom meeting.
Okay, so there's my story. You know, I've been doing this 17 years and things like this still come up. It's easy for me now, but when I started, it might not have been as easy for me to say, no, that's not the right thing to do. So be aware. I don't think they were trying to pull one over on me. I think they just really didn't get that these are two different things. You know, they call everything an acknowledgement. So there's my story for the week. All right. And now this afternoon, I'll be meeting with my signer to take care of that. Let's see, I've got to, yes, Carol.
Talking about journals, I want to add something to that. I've been telling my graduates lately. We often do things that we like an identification that's not perfect, and you find your way around it, and you know you're satisfied this is who they are. I suggest that people take like a number 10 envelope and staple it or Scotch tape it to the back cover of the journal that they're using at the time that they did this act, and put things like credible witness affidavits, maybe copies of some sort of other type of identification, just to substantiate and support your findings if you're ever called into court, and put it in that envelope, and that'll always be there. You don't have to remember even that. So you can keep those papers in there in case you're ever called to court and say, yep, this is the witnesses, this is the information I have about them, here it is. And I think it's a helpful idea if you're interested in doing it.
These things happen, and sometimes they are on the slide, but many times they're not. It's that miscommunication, somebody didn't get it, they don't understand. All right, so I've remuted people. Carol, you can let me unmute you if you can't do it. Okay, great. Because we hear a bunch of background noise and then it's hard for me to hear the question. Thanks, Carol, for adding that, because I think it really is important. I have another request asking for a line entry, which is possible in California, but you have to follow the rules. And I remember the person, but the date she gave me for the notarization, I don't have an entry for that at all. So I had to write back and say, look, I don't have anything that's in the date frame you gave me. Please go back, find that document itself and see the date that I did it, because I don't have anything for you. And I'm sure it's just that she gave me either the wrong month or year, I don't know, but I have like 60 journals. So I know I've got it if I did it. Okay, so now, okay, and I did mute everybody. So now I'm going to start up at Kimberly, and I'm going to ask you specifically to unmute if you're available there, Kimberly.
Yes.
All
Hello.
right.
Hi. Yes, my question, I kind of know the answer, but I just want to hear what you all think. I have done two of the, hold on, my other computer. I have done two of the debt consolidation packages. And the first person I did, they were so excited. They're going to see a reduction in their payment and everything. The second presentation is the word I'm looking for, debt consolidation presentation.
Right.
The second person, though, it was a couple and they were older, and I personally did not think they should do it. And the wife clearly, by the time I finished the presentation, she did not want to do it. So I told her she didn't have to. We called the signing company or whatever. They're going to pay me a trip fee. But my question is this: if you don't feel ethically like it's something that you would do, how do you stay neutral and just doing your notary job when you know? My husband and I decided we're not taking any more of those assignments for us.
Yeah.
It just goes against everything that we do with our own finances. So I cannot recommend that to someone else. But how do you separate the two, what my job is versus how I feel?
How you feel, and then I'll ask Carol if she'd like to interject. How you feel has nothing to do with doing the job. It is not my place to share how I feel about it. And so that's it. I mean, if you are not able to separate the two, then, I mean, because there can be refinances that are not necessarily in their best interest, but it's not my place. I don't know the whole story. It's up to the signer to make their own decisions. All I can do is say that if I see that they're struggling, is to say, would you like to reach out to whoever your contact is? I also personally made a decision not to take that kind of work, because I felt after, a dozen of them, that more times than not, they didn't really understand what it was. And then I start sharing it and they're like, wait, this is not what I thought it was. But it is not our place ever to share our personal thoughts about that. Carol, do you have anything you want to add to that? And unmute. Carol, unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, I actually do. Over the years that we did signings, we were faced with situations where we're like, oh my God, please don't sign it, don't sign it. And you can't, you have to stand back. But I will tell you, I had one situation one time, one of my stories. We went to a woman's house. She was nearing 80, and she was getting a refinance on an existing loan. To make a long story short, when I started going through the paperwork with her, I saw that they were paying off a reverse mortgage. She had no monthly payment on a mortgage. And this new loan, she was so excited because it was going to pay off Target for a $3,000 air conditioner. When I saw it was a reverse mortgage and it was a $27 a month payment at 8% interest, and that payment was good for 5 years with a negative amortization. By the time that the 5 years was up, she would owe, instead of owing $110,000 on a reverse mortgage, she was going to owe $193,000 to these creeps. And I said, are you sure that you understand that that you're paying off your reverse mortgage where you don't have any payment? And she said, well, I don't know. I want to pay off this air conditioner. I said, well, it's up to you, but keep in mind, you have no payment now, and it is going to go up in 5 years. And she said, oh, well, I didn't think about it that way. She said, I don't think I want to do it. So I said, well, you better call your loan officer and tell him what you want before we start to sign. And she called him. She told him. He called me at home in the afternoon, wanted to know what the blank I did to have her change her mind. And he was furious. I called her a week later to see how she was, just to kind of see if she didn't go through with it. And by golly, 2 really nice young men showed up at her home and they got her to sign. The only thing that's good about it, it was right before the 2008, 2007, 2008 happened, where everything tanked. And they were counting on making that money by selling her property off. And they probably lost everything too. That was the only thing. But other than that, I didn't really do anything actively except to just remind her she wasn't paying a payment now.
Yeah. All right. So as you can see, we need to remember who we are and what our role is and stick to that. All right. I'm going to pick on, is it Lula? I'm going to ask you to unmute if you're available.
There.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm also printing some docs in the background, so forgive the noise. But my question just has to do with, because we're in COVID, and I just had a situation, and I am like, oh my gosh, I think I may have messed up. Where the person told me that they had come in contact with, actually their son had COVID and they were caring for their son, but it had only been 10 days. And the doctor said that the son didn't need another COVID test. And I was going to cancel the appointment and just say, okay, well, you know, the agency has to just find someone else because this just sounds too risky to me. But then the agency sent me something saying that it is also their policy where I can leave the docs at the door, they can sign it, and I can look at their ID, and then I can sit in my car. When they're done, they can bring me the docs and everything. And then I just said, I agreed to it, but then I said, oh my gosh, I think I made a mistake because I have to actually watch them sign. And so just
Okay.
I think I made a mistake, but
So
for
you got
if it
two
ever
parts.
comes up.
Lula, you got 2 parts. The first part is it was your discretion to say, I don't want to take this job.
Right.
Number 1. Number 2, their offer of, well, let's do it this way is not a legal way to handle loan documents. They're called sometimes drive-by, curbside, and it's not acceptable. If you've not performed it, I would reach out to them. That is not acceptable. Oh, somehow you're I'm going to ask you to unmute. You became muted again.
Yes, I just muted myself because I was printing documents, didn't want all that in the background, but it's all stopped.
Okay, so you're right. No good. Don't do it that way.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Just needed a confirmation about that. That's all.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Lula. Okay, who's mobile NSA? I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, this is Beth McCauley in Orange County. I'm a graduate in Notary Pro, and my question is, for the notary, what are the top 5 forms other than a jurat and acknowledgement that you should master, particularly when you're prospecting the attorneys? Because obviously attorneys will pay more. So like, what are the top 5 forms we should just get perfectly other than jurat and acknowledgement? And also, what ID is everybody wearing? Are you like, you have an ID laminated around your neck when you're going into, people's homes? What do you suggest?
So I think around the ID, if people want to put in the chat the response to that, what they're doing. I have my business card that I laminated, and it has my photo on it, and I wear that. I don't always wear it, but that's one of the ways I do it. Anybody who's created some ID for themselves, feel free to put that in the chat. Regarding your first part of your question, Carol, thank you, Valerie. Carol, do you want to say anything in response to her?
No, actually, I think you would be best because you work with attorneys and you
Yeah.
deal with a lot of.
I need clarification. When you say form, are you talking about notary certificates? Are you talking about documents? Because they're very different.
Just for notary, for any notarization, when you're getting calls out there, obviously acknowledgement and jurat seem to be the most popular. And then maybe advanced healthcare directive when you're going to the hospital. But what about it? Like, what are the top 5 notary forms that you should just master? I mean, you should know them all, obviously.
Okay, so I'm first, I need to just fix vocabulary so that we don't confuse people.
Okay.
A document or form to me is the part that belongs to the signer, and that's what they're signing.
Okay.
Notary certificate is the language I'm filling out. So let's take the notary certificate. That would be acknowledgement or jurat that you mentioned.
Right.
It depends on your state, because it doesn't matter if you learn how to do signature witnessing if you're not allowed. So
California.
So in California, we don't have that act. So even if it was presented to you, what your knowledge needs to be is that's not an act I can perform. So now they're going to have to contact whoever issued or is getting the form to find out what could be replaced, because it's not our place to say.
What form are you referring to that you cannot? I'm sorry, what certificate?
The certificate I'm talking about for California, acknowledgements and jurats, administering an oath or an affirmation, that's what you're going to be doing. There's really only about 3 for us, because that's all we are allowed. We are not allowed there's like another 4 or 5 notarial acts in different states that we are not allowed to do. So it doesn't matter if you know them, you can't do them. So that's the first half, is that acknowledgements and jurats are what you need to master. And I would say understanding how to tell the difference between an oath versus a jurat, because sometimes it's an oath, like an oath of office, and that's not a jurat. So the rules are different. Now let's talk about documents. If you're going to work with attorneys, is it because of trusts or because of adoption or because of whatever it is? That's where you would want to probably Google and find out what documents may be commonly involved in that. Now, I do have a video series called Laura Beaver Presents, and I do talk about that. I have one for adoptions. I have one for living trusts. I have one for working in a hospital. They're all different. But you also could do that research on your own.
So those notarial certificates. That's what you're referring to. Sorry.
I'm referring to documents that might be utilized by an attorney for an adoption, or utilized for a living trust, or utilized in a hospital. Documents, let me finish. Documents like powers of attorney, advanced healthcare directive, trust document. There's deeds. There are a lot of documents that are utilized by attorneys or even outside of an attorney's office that need to be notarized. And what you need to master is, can you recognize an acknowledgement from a jurat, so that you know the difference between those two and you know how to fill them out correctly? Do you know how to recognize a signature witnessing, which is not an acknowledgement? That's all you're allowed to do. That's the part you can master. And then you can start to familiarize yourself with these documents that I named to see, well, what do they look like? Where's my notary part, right? That's the other part that you can add value when you know what the document layout is. So does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're essentially either attaching an acknowledgement or a jurat to those forms. You just have to recognize them. And
well, if what's pre-printed is not compliant for California, I always try to use what's provided to me. But if it's not compliant, that's when I will attach a certificate form instead.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're so welcome. All right, and thank you for that question. I'm going to lower your hand and ask, is it Fritznell? My apologies if I didn't say it right. Esteban, are you here? I'll give you a moment to ask you to unmute. There you are. Just unmute yourself.
Hello?
The wrong person. Hold on.
Yeah, someone just got.
I'm going to ask, I see Fritznell. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, maybe he's doing something else. So then I am going to drop to Kristen and I'll come back. Kristen, I'm going to unmute you. Oh,
Hey there. So my question today is, what happens if you don't end up getting paid for the notary signing and you've put all the amounts in your journal?
well, your journal isn't your bookkeeping. So what you have in the journal isn't what you're claiming for your taxes. You should be doing that outside of the journal. All the journal is tracking for you is that you're not overcharging for the notarial act. And that's not the support you would take to your CPA.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
But why
but
are
I
you
would
not
do it.
getting paid? I'm
Huh?
sorry.
I'm
Why, I want to
not
find out
even-
why she's not getting paid.
not even commissioned yet. So it's just
But
something that
commission-
I'm just curious how that works.
You mean if somebody doesn't pay you?
Right. Because
In
I
theory-
mean, at some point in your life, it is going to happen. It's, you
It will.
know,
It will. It's happened to me.
And you
So-
don't put the whole amount in your journal, you only put your notarial work, like for your
Right.
certificates,
Mhm.
you put that in your journal. That's the only thing that you don't pay taxes on.
right. Okay.
Okay, just
Mm-hmm.
remember that you always want to get advice from your CPA or bookkeeper as to how to treat the income from the notarial part, because we are all responsible for 100% of the income we generate for taxes. It's only the self-employment part where we might want to take advantage of not paying our second half, the employer half of the Social Security tax. Okay.
Right.
All right.
This is kind of a two-part question. It is related to that first one. Is it okay if I ask?
Okay, if I can answer it quickly.
I think you might have just answered it. I wrote it down here. It's charging less for your notarization for tax purposes, but you want to charge more because of the employment tax. Is that
Well,
what?
it's not about charging less or more. I'm just saying that if I do a job and I get paid $150 and I performed 10 notarizations, which equals $150 of notary value, then the income tax is $150 on $150, but the self-employment tax is off of zero. That's what I'm saying. That's how that works. So you have to track, if you're going to do that, you have to track it. So when you go to your bookkeeper or CPA, you have two numbers to report. One is I made this much money in notary fees and I made this much money total, because you're going to be charged taxes for all of it. But you do have an option to not pay the 6.5%, the other half of the Social Security part.
Yeah, I get that. And I
Okay.
guess to show you an extreme example, I want to charge $1 for each notarization, but I want to charge $100 for my mobile portion of my business. So
Well,
I wouldn't.
First of all, I don't get, why would you do that? You're charging $100. Why would you want to vary from that?
Because I wouldn't be paying self-employment taxes I would be paying self-employment taxes on the lower dollar amount rather than
Well,
the 50.
You're gonna, well, you know what? This conversation is not for today. It really needs to be with your bookkeeper or your CPA, because I'm neither and neither is Carol. Okay? You
Thank
start
you.
getting into kind of crazy wide variances. This is not a way I can help you. I would like to help you, and I can talk in theory about what I shared with you, but I don't want to say something about that and then be just totally off.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Appreciate that. Now I'm going to come back to Fritznell. Are you still there? I'm going to ask you to unmute because I saw you unmute a moment. Are you available to us now? Okay, you still don't seem to be available. So I'm going to go on to, is it Shayla?
Yes,
Zimmerman?
yes.
Hi, welcome. What's your question?
I was at a signing just last night, and they've been victim of bank fraud. And they had asked me if they could take a picture of their signature affidavit that I was notarizing last night for proof of their signature name since it was notarized. Is that allowed?
Well, I don't know if it was a loan signing or just a single document, but I wouldn't have an issue if they signed it and I notarized it and they want to take a picture of it. I've never denied somebody from doing that. Carol? I don't know where you are.
I wouldn't deny them either. I would say,
Yeah.
I would be happy to do that for them.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, it was for a refinance that they had, and I just wasn't sure. So, because I mean, they are legally prepared documents for the title and lending company. I just wasn't sure if it would be something that would be allowed. So I just recommended that they get that digital copy, that signed package.
Right, they can do that, but if they just wanted a document to photograph it with their phone, I don't see an issue with that.
Okay,
It's
Thank
their
you.
phone. Okay, you're welcome. Let's go to Margot Henderson. Margot, I see you. You want to unmute? There we go.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, we
Can
are
you hear me?
great. I can hear you.
Okay, good. Greetings from Detroit, Michigan, Motown. I have completed the remote online notary course. And they're saying that I need to notify the state that I'm switching over. Does that mean I cannot physically notarize anymore? I have to do all remote notarizations?
So the answer to that is going to be from your own state of Michigan. What they're saying, I don't know. Does somebody,
Okay.
if anybody else is in Michigan and knows about this, they can certainly chime in the chat. But you really need to look to your own state and what they're giving you direction.
Okay,
to
and my second question, what do you think about the fingerprinting courses that I've seen? How to become,
Are you talking about
Okay.
LifeScan?
I guess so, is where you can make money fingerprinting people?
So there's the ink old fashioned way and there's LifeScan. Those are the two
Probably.
I'm aware of.
Okay, probably live scans. Probably what I'm
LifeScan's with the
thinking of.
equipment. And that is a complementary type of work for notaries who are mobile, which is great. There's a
Okay.
pretty good investment, financial investment up front. So you want to consider that for either leasing or buying the equipment. You could need $3,000 to $5,000 just to do that, to get started.
Okay.
But
Thank you
yes,
so much.
it's also a good revenue stream besides doing mobile notary work or loan signing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Marcia Morris, come on down. You're our next.
From the state of California. And
You're
I just wanted to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I got my renewal in the mail from the NNA. My commission expires in October.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about increasing my E&O to 100,000, but because I thought about it a couple years ago, but it was kind of hard to get it in line with when my commission was going to expire. So I just said I'll wait. And I was wondering, I mean, in your opinion, is it worth it? I don't want to go any higher than that, but I would like to start marketing to some escrow companies.
Yeah, so two thoughts on this. One is, in our industry, 100,000 is the, I guess, sweet spot for the amount if you want to work for escrow or title companies. So I would say if that's your plan, then yes, you're going to want to do that because you wouldn't want to turn down work because you didn't have enough E&O. For signing services, 25,000 is plenty. The other thought that I have is I wouldn't go more than that because, you know, how big do I want the target to be on my back, right? I don't want to be a deep pocket. So I have as much as I need to do the work.
Got it. Okay.
All right, Carol, do you have something you want to add?
No, I'm the same thing. I think that if they're aiming for title and escrow companies, and by the way, if you're new to this, please don't going direct immediately. You know, build a reputation, learn your craft, and when you're ready, you'll be ready to go and have something good to present to these companies. And I also agree with Laura and tell my students when they start talking about $500,000 and $1 million policies, you are putting the biggest target on yourself. You don't want to do that. And if you do have a high amount of insurance, don't advertise it like on your websites and things. Just keep it quiet.
And one other thing to add to that, you know, there are some people who could be on this call who run a signing service or are planning to do a signing service. They would be required to like have that higher amount, $1 million policy. So if that's your plan, then that's a different question. And that would require more E&O, but as an individual notary, no.
Okay. and
Thank
the
you so
second-
much, Marcia, for asking that
Thank you.
question. All right, so let's see, we got Helen. I see your square, Helen.
Hi there.
No camera today, huh? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, no camera. I don't have any makeup on right now. Hi, Carol and Laura. How are you?
Good.
Hi.
I am calling you from Vero Beach, Florida. And I am a fairly new notary. I've done several loan signings and I did take your course, Carol. And, but I am getting ready. I was requested to do a will signing at the end of the month. And it's 4 basic wills with POAs and healthcare directives. And I'm just wondering if there's anything specific I need to know. I read about self-proving affidavits. They did just send me a copy of one of the wills, so I'm going to be going through that. And there is a place for witnesses there. But I'm wondering who can be that witness.
So typically for witnesses, they need to be not related. They need to be not a beneficiary. Some states have age requirements of 18 or older. Those are things to look, and if there are requirements, I've seen them on the will just before the witnesses that say, you know, this witness is over 18 and they're not related by blood or marriage, whatever. So I would look for that. That's one thing I would share with you. If there is a testamentary affidavit or a self-proving affidavit or an attestation clause, they go by many names. Look to see whose signatures are going to be notarized. It may be all 3, the 2 witnesses and the principal signer.
Okay.
And then the principal signer language isn't principal signer, it'll be testator, most likely.
Okay.
And if they're really fancy and it's a woman, it might be testatrix.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Well, I read a couple different things because I do know that in the state of Florida, you cannot have a spouse or a child. You cannot notarize for them, but you can for siblings. And then I read that with wills, it doesn't necessarily make it null and void if it's a relative.
right, but remember, these are their wishes that cannot be confirmed once they're gone. So think about the future, which is why we have witnesses and or notarization, is what if it got challenged? Are they doing anything in the signing ceremony that could create a problem in the future? So I know it's not illegal to do it that way, but is it a good idea?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I'd ask them to think about if they wanted to use relatives, you know, that are close.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. All right.
All right.
Anything else or?
That's it? No, I don't have really anything else in particular. Powers of attorney and healthcare directives, powers of attorney are notarized and may have places for witnesses. Advanced healthcare directives can be witnessed or notarized in most states. In some states, it requires witnesses and notarized. So for instance, I just took care of Idaho, and in Idaho, the will had witnesses and the requirement for notarization. And that is important to check before you
Okay.
go, because if they want you to be a witness, because I'll be a witness on a document I'm not notarizing. So I was going to be a witness on the will because I was notarizing powers of attorney. But then
Okay.
it turned out there was a testamentary affidavit, and I would end up having to notarize the witnesses' signatures, and I can't notarize my own signature.
Exactly, right.
So then they were going to be short on witnesses. So these are things you want to work out before you.
Okay, okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, bye-bye.
Shirley, if you are available, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hello?
I think I hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, if you could speak a little louder, that would be great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question that came about yesterday when I was doing the signing. On the Department of Veteran Affairs, the report and certification of loan disbursement. When I went to the borrower, I thought he was the veteran. It ended up that it was actually her husband that passed away. So what happened on this document, they had her under the veteran's name as well as the social. So kind of a two-part question to this. One, was that wrong on that? And where was she supposed to sign? Because I wasn't sure on this one because he is not the veteran, it was the husband, but her name was under name of veteran. And then second part of that, is it standard to always take the original death certificate? Because that's something new for me. And I was hearing some notaries saying, yes, you're always supposed to take it, but there were no instructions into taking the original.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask Carol when she comes back on, but I would say one, as to whether it was wrong, how it was listed, it doesn't sound like it was in the right place to me. I would have reached out to the hiring company to find out, look, is this how it's supposed to be? I would have expected her to be in the spouse part. The second part of that is it's not standard practice to get a death certificate unless you're told to get it in the instructions in your confirmation, or you're handling like an affidavit death of joint tenant that requires a certified birth certificate to go with it. So if you're in either one of those situations, you're asked for it, or you see a document that requires it, yes, then it would be standard to get it. Now, Carol, I see you're back.
I just heard the end of that conversation, but I
Okay.
believe that everything you said was true. I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure. Okay, are you good, Shirley? Okay, she's already been muted. I'm going to lower your hand and I'm going to go to Apollonia. Hey, Apollonia, where are you?
Hi, Lord. No video today. I'm in a scarf, no makeup. I'm sorry. You always all of this beauty on next Tuesday for sure. I promise.
Okay. Well, what's your question?
My question. Thank you for taking my question. Hi, Laura. Hi, Carol. Hello, everyone. I am Apollonia, and I'm from Illinois. My question is on a loan document at the signing line. Who is the indemnitor?
Carol? You're muted.
I'm sorry, who is the what? I've got noise around here.
The indemnitor. So it's an indemnity document, and they're holding harmless whoever it is. The signer is, I guess, holding the company harmless in case of something happening. And she's asking, who's the indemnitor on that document? Which I'm thinking,
I keep
indemnitor.
muting myself. Go ahead.
Stop muting yourself. So the indemnitor, I'm thinking, is the signer, because they're signing something that says, I'm going to hold you harmless. I'm providing indemnity for you. But that's my thought on it. I really have to look at the document, and I might even have to research it. But Carol, do you have a different answer or something more you'd like to add?
Well, the only thing I can let her know is that when it's an or, like a grantor,
right?
It is the person who is giving up the property or giving power or whatever.
Right.
The EE at the end of it is not the or.
Receiver.
So if it's an indemnitor, yeah, I would say it's the person that's is asking for indemnity or providing indemnity, signing the document.
The one signing, the signor.
So the document name is Gap Indemnity Agreement. But at the signature line, it says Indemnitor. So are you saying in a loan refinance, the indemnitor is the borrower?
Yes, I would say so.
That's what I was saying.
Okay,
And if it doesn't feel right, what do?
call the sign.
You call the hiring company, you find out. It's so much better to get the right answer and handle it right at the moment than have to fix it later. And so even when I get things that I'm not sure about, I call. It doesn't make me look stupid. It makes me look thorough.
I
All right,
agree.
and proactive.
I
And it's true, there's all the newbies out there, they're scared to death to call anybody because they feel that it makes them
Yeah.
look dumb, and it doesn't. If you're asking a valid question, they appreciate you reaching out to them.
They really do. All right, Apollonia, thank you. I see Delcy Winters. I'm going to ask you to unmute, Delcy. Oops. Delcy, are you with us?
Hello.
There you are. Okay, we hear you.
Hi, everyone. I'm from New York, and I just have a question about when I started this process of becoming a notary back in September. I joined the NNA right away. Then my commission came, and then I started signing agent training. So then I bought my E&O. I have dates all over the place. And I'm just wondering for anyone out there, by next year, when I need to start renewing different things, if anyone has kind of found a way to streamline all of their dates, you know, so that my policy renews and my commission renews, like all kind of at one time instead of at random dates.
So people can certainly, write in the chat. I know that my my E&O is, I think, 30 days later than my commission. So my commission's 4 years. My NNA membership is the 4 years. My bond ties to the 4 years. All of that ties to the 4 years. But I've got this one thing that's 30 days later, and there really isn't a way for them to backdate it or move it. It's just that's how it is. So if somebody else has found a way to do that, certainly say something in the chat. But it doesn't matter, as Matt says, as long as it's current and calendarize it so that you get it done. And of course, whoever your person is you bought it, like the NNA is going to remind you 80 times. So that is not, I mean, they're going to start 6 months in front, and they're going to start telling you, hey, you got to renew. So they're not going to let you fail. Okay. They're going to keep going. Okay.
And the other quick thing is, at what point should I go ahead and sign up for the signing agent insurance? I have the E&O, but not the signing agent one yet.
That's a personal decision. I personally don't use the signing agent insurance. I just have the E&O because that's what's required of me. I have a liability policy, but that's for my office when somebody comes into my office in case, they trip and fall and something like that. Remember that the E&O, for everybody, the difference is E&O covers notarial errors only. So if you made a mistake on the rescission document, or you made a mistake on something else, and as a result, it created some kind of financial damage, then you could be held liable for that, and your E&O would not cover it. So that's what she's talking about, is that signing agent. Most signing agents don't have it, but some do. And you have to decide the cost of that premium, which can be, when I looked into it, it was about $600 a year, versus the risk that something would happen to you. I'm really good at what I do. I don't need it. So I don't need it. I'm not worried about that. I'm very careful. And I've been doing it 17 years, and I've not had an issue I couldn't, easily resolve. So I don't know if anybody else feels like they wouldn't do it without it. They can say something in the chat about it, but it is pretty expensive, just so you know.
And Laura, I
you.
want to add something if I may.
Yeah, Carol.
I get a lot of questions, the difference between the bond and the E&O insurance. And so for any of those of you out there that don't understand the difference, when you get the bond, which is demanded by whatever state you're in, if your state does demand that you have a bond, and you have E&O insurance, if you make a mistake that is, that somebody goes after your bond, the money that's offered in your bond, the bond will pay that, but you have to repay the money back to the bond, the bonding company. On E&O insurance, if you do make a mistake and somebody challenges you, let's say that you've got $25,000 in E&O insurance, and somebody goes after you for $5,000 for a mistake that you made, the E&O insurance will pay that, but it will reduce the amount of coverage by that $5,000. So now it'll go down to, say, $20,000. The signing agent insurance is very expensive. And in all the thousands and thousands of graduates I've had, I only had one student that I'm aware of that had her E&O insurance gone after. So it's rare. You have to really make a pretty good mistake for somebody to take you down with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks for adding that, Carol. Diana Hanson, I'm going to ask you, and then I'll come back to.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Diana, thank you.
You're welcome. I know my voice doesn't always carry. I got really excited about the new journal that came out, the Integrity, and I couldn't wait to use it. So I made a choice to start using it the 1st of January. I had a new log started, but I didn't do what I've always done forever. I have always used it from the very first entry line to the very last one, the last page. How do I close out that other one that I decided just to stop using?
So you should be able to just strike the unused pages.
Okay.
So that nobody could write anything in it. And on the last page, start a new journal and then start the next journal.
All right, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That journal is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's one of our graduates who created it. I'm so proud of him.
He did such a great job. I recommend it, but not to California. If you're California, it doesn't comply for us right now. But the good news is I think he's working on it.
He is.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you, Diana. I'm going to go back to Fritznell Esteman. Are you still waiting to ask a question? Going once. Going twice. Okay. Then I'm going to go to Candace.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Candace. And you're on video. Yay.
Here in New Jersey, sunny New Jersey. Quick question for both you and Carol. Could you compare and contrast the pros and cons between the online electronic journal and then, a hardbound journal, please?
Okay, so I want to say a couple things and I'm going to pass it to Carol. First thing I want to say is that check to see what your state statutes say about the allowance of an electronic journal. That's the first thing. Second thing is, if it is allowed, I think it's a great tool to use, particularly if you're trying to record everything, because it makes it faster for you. Downside is that, things crash. Electronic journal could crash, so you want to make sure you're backing up. The other thing is that if you're in a state like I am, I'm allowed to have an electronic journal, but I must collect a thumbprint, and the electronic journal cannot do that, which is why I don't use one, just in case. And of course, it can be a little more of a hassle, because if you're asked by your Secretary of State to provide entries, and they only want the entries they're asking for, you've got to be able to go in there and cut and paste just what you need. And then I know that Carol has something to add, that there could be a signing agency that says, I don't want, if you're using electronic journal, then I don't want to work with you as a notary signing agent. Carol, do you have something to add?
Yeah, that journal, I absolutely love it. It's done by a New York attorney. He reached out to me to kind of help him get that Notary Act journal going when he first started, and we share a birthday. It's a wonderful journal, but there are some issues with it. Certain states won't allow it. You're right about the fingerprints. And also, I think I announced on this forum last couple of weeks that if you do any work with AMROC, do not use an electronic journal. I had a student who was doing about $2,000 a week for AMROC for months. And they found out he was using an electronic journal, which he was not aware that they did not allow. They cut him off. He's yet to get another signing. So be careful, make sure that the signing agencies allow you to use the electronic journals.
Alrighty, thanks so much.
You're welcome, Candace. Thanks for asking. All right, Kia, I see you're there. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Can you join us? Thank you.
Yes,
There
sorry.
you are.
Okay, so hi Laura. I'm the one that we talked to the other day when I was at the tire place.
Yes, I recall.
My question is piggybacking off a question somebody asked earlier about the $1 million E&O, right? Can you elaborate on being a target?
What I meant by that is lawsuits. And sometimes people are just looking for who's got the money. You know, when somebody's going to sue, they look to see who's all related to this transaction, and they just name everybody. And hopefully somebody's got some money. And I don't want to be the one that has the money. Right. So that's what I'm saying, is that we are in a litigious society, and people, you know, unfortunately feel like if something, there was an issue created for them, that they're entitled to big money as a result, meaning a lawsuit. And certainly anybody can sue anybody. You just have to have enough money to file the claim. So I don't want to be attractive in that arena. So that's really what I'm saying.
I get it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let me see what time it is. Oh, we got time for a couple more. Donna, is it Reed? Donna Reed, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Yes, it is. Thanks for taking my question. Happy belated birthday to you, Carol. I wanted to ask about the Notary Journal, the new one. And I'm wondering now, in Ohio, it's not mandatory that we keep a journal. But what I wanted to know was if somebody out there is using it, I know Diana's using it, is it like really much better than any of the other notaries, or is there a one journal that you suggest over all the others? Thanks.
Sure. There are a lot of different styles of journals you can purchase. I love this one, this Integrity Journal. Thank you, Margot, for holding it up so everybody can see it. And the reason I love it is that he incorporated a lot of space for a notary to indicate additional information that they might be checking for, but there wasn't a place to record it or check mark it. Number one. Number two, the privacy is better as it opens up this way instead of this way. So you can fit everything in multiple assignments, multiple signers, and then you start the next page so that the next signer doesn't see everything above it. So I love the privacy that it gives. And I just love the thoroughness at which you can use it, whether it is for mobile notary work or specialty work or the loan signing work. It really can accommodate, and accommodates witnesses. Even though I can't personally use it, I really love it. So I recommend that one. If you don't use that one, and it's very inexpensive as well. I love supporting my local notaries whenever I can. Carol?
I'm with you.
There you go.
I do have an announcement. Again, I started the meeting with it. I'm going to end my portion of the meeting. And
Okay.
that is Prime Time Notaries. Our first meeting of the year is going to be tomorrow. I just put the link in there again. It's for the more mature signers, people who are in this business who are not 18 or 20 or 30 years old. And we address the issues that face us as the more mature signers or, you know, notaries.
Mhm.
So the link is in there. We'd love to have as many people as like come in and join us.
Beautiful. Thank you for reminding people of that. I do see that we're coming up on 1 o'clock hour. So I'm going to stop. It looks like I got through all but 2 calls. So yay, I tried to go through as many as I could. Thank you everybody for participating today. We had over 250 notaries on our call today, and we're so glad that you are brave enough to raise your hand and ask those questions because it gives everybody else an opportunity to learn. We will be back on next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. All right, so until then, you guys have a great week. Bye.